Okay, so I was preparing to live stream the meeting, so let's see.
On the top of my screen here, it says live on YouTube.
Okay, so I was preparing to live stream the meeting, so let's see. All right, I think we're here. We've made it. We've done it. Well, welcome, Jillian. Thank you for being here. Thank you for navigating the technology world with me. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited and so honored to be a part of what you're doing with this community.
Thanks. So for everyone who is watching live or who will watch this in the future, the Gathering Movement is really a collective and right now an interview series of leaders from all across different industries. So I've interviewed financial people, fitness people, we have education, we have healing, we have Reiki. And today we have a beautiful human who's gonna really talk to us about empowerment. And I truly believe that that's one of the stepping stones to really becoming the leader of your own life. So Jillian, thank you for being a leader.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you've done to help me step into where I am today. It's been an interesting journey for me. I started off, in this weird spot where I felt so lost and I felt alone and I was so confused. And, the universe dropped you in at a time when I needed guidance and I needed someone the most. And it was just like all the pieces fell together and brought me to you. And helped me navigate to where I needed to be today. And it truly has been a blessing to have met you and gotten to where I am today.
Yeah. Likewise, I feel the same way about meeting you, and it was very kismet. Really the way that we connected. How would you say, and what would you say that, we titled this Empowerment Made Me Do It. What does that mean to you and why did that title resonate with you?
That's the word empowerment was something that I never truly believed belonged to me. I never thought of myself and that word in the same category before now. And prior to doing the work and doing the inner healing work that I've been doing, I really felt alone. I felt like very self-conscious. I felt not empowered at all to be me, to be myself. And now what does it mean to feel empowered now? I feel like I'm owning me. I've owned not just who I am, but the demons that I had to overcome to get here. It wasn't a pretty picture to get to where I am today. Diving into those wounds from my childhood and diving into those shadows and those dark places and owning it and looking at it from a perspective of no longer the woe is me, but how can I use this to help me grow? And that really, to me, gives me that feeling of empowerment is how can I use this to grow and not just be the best version of myself, but also to bring that out and into the world and into my everyday life. And hopefully it radiates off to other people.
It definitely does, because I can feel it, and I see your evolution and your impact on those in your life. You said something that made me really feel very seen and validated, and I think that anyone listens to this can also feel that. And you talked about how you had to kind of embrace where you came from, the wounds, the traumatic experiences, the challenges of your childhood. And throughout this journey, you've had to embrace those things to really be who you are today. So for anyone who is listening to this or will listen, how does your childhood experience shape your adult experience? How did that happen?
Oh, it was, the journey was messy. I'll admit that the journey was very messy. as an adult now, mid 30s, I thought, hey, like I'm good. I dealt with all my stuff. And I was wrong. I'm a child of divorced parents. I struggled with that a lot growing up. I had seen therapists from the time that I can remember. I was, I don't know, 5, 6 into my school age time seeing therapists, and I thought I did the work. I thought I was good. I thought I had overcome it all. And I hit a wall. I started seeing patterns in my day to day life and my interactions with people. And it resonated in my romantic relationships with men. And I could see that some of that stuff was coming out. And it then started to radiate out into relationships with friends and relationships with my parents now as an adult. And it started making me feel like I wasn't happy with who I am. And I had to kind of take a step back and evaluate, wait, is this who I want to be? Like, is this, like, am I happy? And I wasn't. And I had to really think, well, why? Why am I not happy? What is the root? What is the cause? How do I get help? What do I do? And the first thought was always, all right, go back to therapy. And I realized that I was too smart when it came to the therapist, because I knew that I could tell them what they wanted to hear. It was, all right, I'll go in, I'll listen to them, and I know what they want to hear. And it became like that vicious cycle. And I wasn't being challenged. And I knew I needed to do like the hard work. I needed to do it. So with your help, like going to that first women's circle where I met you and I met other women and became vulnerable. And I realized that to do that work, the first thing that you need to do is drop the guard. You have to become vulnerable and realize that, hey, you're not healed. There's still wounds. There's still stuff that needs to happen. So you drop the guard, you become vulnerable, and become willing to be vulnerable, become willing to take a look inside and do the work. And as everything else aligned with our meeting, COVID hit, we were stuck at home. You launched your second round of the Soulful Essence program, and it was the perfect fit for me. Through that program, it really pushed me to reevaluate my childhood traumas. And I didn't know it was going to go there, but in the meditations and in the journaling, the prompts that we went through and in the meditation, it kept going back to that, because you realize that your interactions you have with other people, where did that come from? Where do you learn that? How did that come into my life? What beliefs come about? Where did I learn that? Where was that ingrained? And then you really do have to take a step back and figure out, where's the root? Where did that start? And then figure out, okay, this is where it starts. How do I fix it? How do I get past this?
It's such a journey. And I thank you for sharing all that, because I think even with social media, and anytime someone is like front and center, it looks like they have everything, together. And we see this with celebrities, right? We always thought like, oh, they're perfect, yada, 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 when we find out that there's so much behind it all. And I believe that the power of vulnerability, and you probably watched Brene Brown's talk as well, but it's just so powerful because it connects us. We realize that we are all connected and we're all healing, right? We're not like fixed or perfect or done. It's like it's always a process and it's always a journey. So I think that you sharing that really empowers people to take a look at their life and where they are in this moment and ask themselves some challenging questions. And it sounds like that's what you had to do, like challenging questions.
Yeah, it was really difficult. And not only was there some difficult and challenging questions, but it was difficult and challenging work because I struggled with a lot of like limiting beliefs about myself
Mm.
that were put on me by other people and social media and the people around me. And I didn't realize that it was even there in the first place. So a lot of the way I was moving around in the world and responding and reacting and treating myself was put on me by other people. And that was tough. That was really tough to get past and work through. And I hit a wall at one point, and there was one week that I really remember was like super impactful and very it was just super emotional, and I had to get through it. It was one week where I realized that a lot of my issues, I'll call them issues, because that's what they were, really stemmed from my interactions as a child with my mother.
Mm.
And that, like, I'm like getting chills and like shaking even thinking about it right now because I love my mom. I respect my mom. She's done so much for me as a child growing up. She still does. We have a great relationship. And I never realized how much that impacts me now. And I never thought of it that way ever. And once I realized this, it was, I then became resentful towards her. And I didn't want to be resentful towards her.
Mhm.
So then I had to have this whole
Oh,
other
wait, you paused.
dialogue.
I don't know why I couldn't hear you for a moment.
Oh, sorry. So then I started becoming resentful to my mom for a second there. And I was like, no, you can't be resentful to her. And I had to like remove myself from that situation and realize, how do I navigate this? How do I get past this? And it really brought me to a point where I had to have probably one of the most difficult conversations with my mom. And it had to come from a place of love. It had to come from a place of vulnerability. And it was tough because I had to talk to her and recognize that she didn't do anything wrong. She was doing what she felt was best at the time. And in that conversation, we realized like she too had trauma that she was dealing with, that in turn impacted me, which is in turn impacting me now as an adult. And it was a beautiful conversation. I mean, tears were shed.
Mhm.
It was a beautiful conversation, but again, without the vulnerability and without doing the work, nothing gets fixed.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's really important. I think what you're saying is really important too, because a lot of the times I see people that just want to like think about it and it's fixed, but there is action. Like you actually took
Mm,
action, right? So you did some of the inner work, you were asking yourself challenging questions, you were journaling, you were doing meditations to bring you into a subconscious state, but it didn't stop there, because you had to bring that into the world and take a little bit of action,
mm.
which was this very challenging conversation, which led to a lot of expansion though for you.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a super, super good point too, because you're right. There were a couple of days there where, I sat with it.
Mhm.
I sat through those meditations. I sat and did the journal prompts, and I had to really think about, what do I do? And I
Mhm.
could have sat there and I could have just stayed with it, but what good would it have done? How would it have fixed anything? Yeah, I recognized it. I recognized the problem. I recognized the root cause of why I was feeling what I was feeling. But without that action, what does it fix?
Mm. So you took empowered action, which is really what happened. Now, this is special because I get to see a little bit behind the scenes of like where you started, where you've been, the entire process, the entire journey. And now you're at this place when you are having this opportunity or this idea to start something new. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about your ideas going forward and like how you think that you can help people.
Hmm. Oh, I got chills just thinking about it because I get so excited. So, for those of you other than Bridget, this has been something that has been an ongoing thing for months of me thinking about how do I help? How do I bring this? What do I do? How do I do it? Um, and so I've been working in public education for 12 plus years now, and helping children and working with children has always been my passion. And being in the classrooms and around the kids, I've always wanted to help them on another level, but I never understood until recently what I could do or how I could do that. I always understood that there was so much more than just that academic piece. I always had a connection with like those rough and tough kids in the classrooms, knowing that they needed a little extra love and tender care. So I always knew that they needed something more. And I struggled for a couple of months figuring out like how to navigate this. What do I do? How do I do this? Bridget will contest to this. I kept throwing out different ideas. I had like 5 or 6 different ideas. Nothing felt good. Nothing felt right. I tried, and that's the key thing is I thought about it and I tried something. Like I tried to move forward and it just didn't feel right and it didn't feel good, and I stopped and I scrapped it and then had to start from square one again. And then I don't know, one day everything just kind of clicked. It was like one of those days where everything just came together. I was having a conversation with one of the teachers that I work with, and we were talking about my experience being a child of divorced parents and the conversation I had with my mother, and how, what the parents do and what the parents say, how the parents act, the silent cues around the children affect the children more than the parents realize.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as an adult in my 30s, I'm still struggling with all of that because of the interactions and stuff that happened. Now, my parents were divorced before I was even 2 years old. So that time between that 0 and 7 years old is so impactful in a child's life. And all of that happened. It was chaotic, for lack of better words, in my life at that time, that was so impactful for me now as an adult that I never even thought about and never even realized how much until I started doing this inner work. And then I'm like, what if we can keep that from happening? What if someone stepped in and kept that from happening for me? What would my life be like right now if someone interjected and all of that didn't happen? In talking with my mom, I realized like she had trauma. She had stuff that was going on. So had she fixed her stuff, would things have been different? If my parents fixed some of their stuff and didn't act the way that they acted, would my life now be different? So what do we do? How do we do this? So my idea is, this grand title that I've been thinking of is for parents, and we reach out to parents, is heal yourself, heal your children. And, I've been thinking of right now, the idea is writing a book. So I've been toying with the idea of putting my ideas down on paper and writing a book and telling my story from my challenges, when I hit my wall, why did I hit my wall, how I got through, and my journey, my tools that I've used, and going through the research and explaining to the parents of children that your actions do have an impact, and giving them the tips and the tools to work on themselves, to feel empowered, to do the work, to help themselves, and ultimately empower their children, have those difficult conversations with their kids. And it's okay to be upset and vulnerable in front of your children. And, you can have those conversations in front of your children. And it creates such a different dynamic in the household, and it creates a different dynamic for them growing up. And yeah, so just in the beginning stages of trying to develop this project, and I'm hoping that I can turn it into a book and push it out. And that's where I'm at now.
I also want to thank you for sharing where you're at, because this is something I've thought about for a really long time. Typically, when people are being interviewed or when they're sharing their story, the story is mostly like not done, but they have done something, yada yada, of said accomplishment. And I think what's beautiful about this is you're in the beginning, and like we can still see ourselves in you right now. And you speaking from this place of like, I have this idea, this is why it matters to me, this was my experience, and this is why I'm about to put it all together into something that maybe will be a book. I think a lot of people can resonate with that and see themselves in you because of that.
It's super scary, but but you know what? If I can, and I keep thinking, or I kept thinking, who am I, right? Like, who am I? I started off as a teacher. I'm an administrator in a school district. My background is math. I'm not a writer. Who am I?
Mhm.
But I have something to say. And if I can help one child through this, or one parent through this, why not?
Mm.
Why not?
What would be kind of your final piece of advice for anyone who's listening to this today who is struggling to feel empowered within themselves? What would you tell them?
Oh, that's a good question. For a long time, I was struggling. And I think the biggest hurdle I had to overcome was admitting to myself that I needed help. Admitting to myself that I needed to reach out for support. Being vulnerable enough to reach out for the support. Um, and admitting that not everything is pretty, and recognizing that you're going to hit bumps, and that's okay. There's going to be days where you feel like crap, and there's going to be days where the emotions take over. I've actually been going through that in the last couple of days myself, and I've just had to be okay with it. And when that wave is over, think, plan, but action. It's about the taking of the action. And something you've taught me is to start. If it's messy, so what?
Mhm.
Start. Because you never feel fully empowered until you start.
Ooh, that is an incredible reminder for all of us. So, for anyone who's listening to this right now, the message is to just simply start, because the empowerment's going to come when you take action, when you move forward. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Jillian, for sharing about your journey, about your story, about your dreams, and what you hope to bring to the world.
Thank you for letting me have this platform. It's actually been super empowering to be able to use my voice and speak about it. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you.